Hey everybody, it's your old buddy, Uncle Rich, live from Danbury, Connecticut. And guys, this is show number 288, nice job, Kurt. And it's called Trump-o-crits. You say Trump-o-crits? Rich, did you make that up? Yeah, I'd like to take credit for it. You know, I figured I'd put hypocrites with Trump, and I came up with Trump-o-crits. And, you know, a lot of people, are going to think, people like Uncle Joey are going to think they misheard me. And, Stella, what did he say? Tourniquets? No. The name of the show is Trump-o-crit. And guys, this is going to be about, we're going to have fun with the Trump-supporting hypocrites. And in order to support Trump, you really have to be a hypocrite. And we're going to show that. And I tell you, when you see this first clip, you're going to say, what person in their right mind can defend Trump on this issue? And guys, a lot of times at the beginning of the show, we like to have some comedy. And this is funny, but it's no joke. And when you hear what Trump has to say, you're going to say, what person in their right mind could possibly defend Trump? So, Kurt, let's have some fun with clip number 01, The Ridiculous.
People are flushing toilets 10 times, 15 times, as opposed to once. They end up using more water.
Look at Anderson
So
Cooper.
EPA is looking at that very strongly, at my suggestion.
People are flushing toilets 10 to 15 times?
Even Uncle Joey. Uncle Joey's going to know that's BS. But Kenny Johnson, Kenny, don't believe him. He ain't telling you the truth. If you have to flush your toilet more than 7 to 8 times, you got a problem. But guys, a lot of people are going to say, well, Rich, what do you mean, Trump supporters are hypocrites? What exactly is a hypocrite? So, Kurt, can you bring up still number, there you go. And guys, this is kind of simple. A hypocrite is a person who indulges in hypocrisy. You can go back and forth to me if you want to fade in. But guys, a person who indulges in hypocrisy. And people ask, what is a hypocrite? A hypocrite preaches one thing and does another. They preach one thing and they do another. Does that mean like they get it ass backwards? Could that be possible? Because they live in an alternate universe? All right, so a hypocrite preaches one thing and does another. The word hypocrite is rooted in the Greek word Hippocrates, which means stage actor, pretender, dissembler. So think of a hypocrite as a person who pretends to be a certain way, but really acts and believes the total opposite. Ass backwards. Any questions? And guys, the next clip we're going to play you is going to show you Lindsey Graham, and not only does he get it ass backwards, but he uses time. And look at the time stamps on the two videos, and he says exactly the same thing verbatim, 3 years apart, but now he's changed his mind and he's become a Trump-o-crit. Why? Because Trump is now the president. So because he's the president, things are different. So Kurt, let's prove my point with number 3, please.
He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. No, I don't think he's a xenophobic, race-baiting, religious bigot as president.
Kurt, can you play that again? That's too good. Watch, it's verbatim, word for word, says the exact same things, but because he throws the tag in as president at the end, he thinks we're going to let him get away with it. So, Kurt, hit it again.
He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. No, I don't think he's a xenophobic, race-baiting, religious bigot as president.
Kurt, one more. Kurt tried to get a little cute. One more time for number 4, Kurt.
He's a race-baiting,
I don't know why you're going in
xenophobic,
fading in
religious
like that.
bigot. No, I don't think he's a xenophobic, race-baiting,
You're not
religious
getting the
bigot
video
as
up
president.
out here. All right, we'll have to work on that. All right, so anyway, now we're going to forge ahead, and with the next clip, we're going to show you Chris Cuomo, and Chris Cuomo has a little bit of fun with proof. And, you know, he also has to say something like, you know, what used to be a lynching ain't any, you know, well, anyway, we'll let Chris say it in the clip. Number 4, Kurt?
He said the opposite then of what he says now.
He said the opposite.
Proof.
The depositions, I think, will determine whether or not we go forward with hearings. I think it's a very smart thing to do is to depose these people and find out what they've got to say and not drag this thing out unnecessarily.
Same thing the Democrats say now. Now Graham says it's a lynching. Then it was a very smart thing.
So guys, see, it used to be a lynching, and now it's a very smart thing. Hypocrisy, ass backwards, changing your position. Why? And guys, not only does Lindsey Graham flip-flop, but Newt Gingrich does the same thing. So here it is, another Republican who just wants to become a Trump-o-crit and stand with Trump, and Rachel Maddow doesn't let him get away with it. So we're going to show you how Newt Gingrich played the Grinch back when. So Kurt, number 5, please.
They released those 4 articles of impeachment literally while President Clinton was in the act of lighting the national Christmas tree. Those impeachment proceedings against President Clinton were set in motion, of course, by the crusading Republican Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, who now is back here to let us know that Republicans at least have some sense of decency. They have some sense of the rules around what makes for a fair impeachment process and what doesn't. And frankly, Christmas time is part of what you have to consider.
And really, on the eve of Christmas, it is really sad to see the dishonesty and the partisanship that the House Democrats are displaying.
So on the eve of Christmas, it's terrible to see the partisanship. But what did you do 20 years ago, Newt? And why are things different now than they were 20 years ago? Because now it's a Republican. It's all about the party. It's not about the principle. That's all it is. You know, you take advantage of people like Uncle Joey and Kenny Johnson and Eddie Shaluk. You take advantage of them. You trick them. You get them to vote against their own interests. And these poor guys, I don't know if they're coming or going. You know? So anyway, we're going to prove they don't know that they're coming or going with the next clip, which is how they hollow out the leadership, and the other clip is going to look awful familiar because after a while it all becomes redundant. So Kurt, number 6, please.
He has come to personify the hollowing out of a significant portion of the leadership of the Republican Party.
He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. No, I don't think he's a xenophobic, race-baiting, religious bigot as president.
Hey, so we got that clip to play over again? Anyway, but guys, You know, you hollow out, you take out the core. And that's what they're doing. And I mean, they're just ripping out the soul of the Republican Party. And why? Because the jig is up. Trump got caught. And I'll tell you, we're going to have some more fun later on with how, you know, how he got caught. But anyway, you know, next we're going to look at, this is going to be a very short clip of Chuck Todd talking to, I forget the guy, Trump. What's his name, Kurt? Cruz, Ted Cruz. And guys, when he first comes out with it, it looks like Chuck Todd's eyes are going to bug out. I mean, this is, what a revelation. And this is what happens when you hollow out the leadership. And guys, I tell you, I don't know what the story is with Ted Cruz.
You mean sleepy eyes, Chuck Todd?
I don't know if he's got no backbone. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. But if somebody insulted me and my family the way Trump insulted Cruz, I tell him to go take a hike. I tell him go scratch your ass. I don't care. Hey, party or no party. You know, you're going to start picking on somebody's family. Hey, this is where it ends. This is where the game stops. It's not a game anymore. You know? And so now we're going to show you with the first, just watch, I mean, Chuck Todd looks flabbergasted. So Kurt, number 7.
Do you believe Ukraine meddled in the American election in 2016?
I do, and I think there's
Kurt, keep that still. Look at that. Look at his eyes. Look at that. It looks like he just saw a ghost, doesn't it? He's going, you gotta be kidding me. So let's have some more fun, and let's play more of the clip so that you'll be able to understand a little bit more. Number 8, Kurt.
Do you believe Ukraine meddled in the American election in 2016?
I do, and I think there's considerable evidence.
You do? You do?
Yes, and Chuck, let me say.
This is, Senator, this sort of strikes me as odd, because you went through a primary campaign with this president. He launched a birtherism campaign against you. He went after your faith. He threatened to, quote, spill the beans about your wife about something. He pushed a National Enquirer story, which we now know he had a real relationship with the editors of the National Enquirer.
Up all that
but
garbage.
Senator,
look at that, guys. That's unbelievable.
Let me ask you this.
Isn't
Is it not possible that this president is capable of creating a false narrative about somebody in order to help him politically?
And then he's got to sit there and he's got to laugh. And this is what you got. This is how you want to win elections. This is like you're watching a WWF wrestling event. This is crazy. You get these Fruit Loops that change position, change size at the drop of a hat. Why? Because they have to. The loyalty to the Republican Party is more important than reality. And this is what happens week after week after week. And guys, I'll tell you, you know, you talk about Fruit Loops in the Republican Party. This next clip we're going to play is from Devin Nunes. And guys, when I first saw this news, I said, you got to be kidding me. You telling me that the head of the Republican Party that's sitting before this committee, that's sitting there, might be involved with this Ukrainian stuff? And guys, there's phone logs, we'll show you in a second, but this is Devin Nunes trying to run and hide. And the beauty about the social media is they can't do it anymore. Hey, guys, everything that everybody says is virtually exposed to the public. So, if you're going to make a baboon out of yourself, got to be careful how you do it. But look how Nunes tried to run and hide, and then he tried to videotape the guy that was trying to interview him, I guess maybe to get some dirt on him. This is the way they play ball. So Kurt, number 9, please. Kurt, I got no volume out here.
I just want to ask you really quickly, what were your calls with
That's better.
Left Harness about? Were you asking about the effort to investigate Hunter Biden? Congressman Nunes.
Doesn't have the balls to face him.
He would talk about his calls to Left Harness if he was part of the effort to investigate Hunter Biden. Hey, Congressman Nunes, I just want to ask you about your, I'm a reporter from The Intercept. I want to ask you about your calls to Left Harness. What was the content of those calls?
You think he would have the balls to answer them? Of course not. Run and hide.
Hunter Biden?
Run and hide.
Thank you, Congressman.
And you wonder why I call them Trump-o-crits.
You can't film it. You got to go outside. No.
Okay.
And that was from The Intercept, guys. I'm not familiar with them at all. But hey, go out there and get in their face. Start a little, get a little something going there. Nothing violent, but hey, be a man. Answer the questions, And the next, we're going to show you still now, and this is on Devin Nunes. So, Kirk, can you bring this up? So, let me get this straight. Devin Nunes was engaged in secret schemes to get dirt on Biden from Ukraine while presiding over hearings about Trump's secret schemes to get dirt on Biden from Ukraine. And guys, how do we know this? Kurt, with the next still, if you bring that up, we know this from the metadata. And guys, this tells you who called who when. And you'll notice that Nunes and Giuliani had a cozy relationship. So Kurt, if you can come back to me, and guys, I just found out about this today. This metadata, when you're doing an investigation, you can request information. Now, all it does is tell you the phone call, where it was made from, who it was made to, and that's it. So the rest you got to put together. And guys, when you see how this happened, you're going to go, wait a minute. This is as plain as the nose on my face. So we'll have some fun with that. And then it looks like we're going to have enough time tonight to have some fun with the kids. And guys, the kids came up with this. Instead of fossil fuels, they called it fossil fools. And I thought that was so clever. So we're going to play this clip, and then we're going to play a clip from some children or some young adults who might not be as bright as the children. So Kurt, number 12, please. There you go.
Being a kid, I shouldn't have to stand up here defending my future, but I am. And believe it or not, the very people who are responsible for keeping me safe are the main cause of the problem. Adults need to take action now. Congress is ignoring the rising threat of climate change. Adults aren't telling Congress to fix it, and meanwhile fossil fuel companies are making fortunes. If adults won't speak up for our future, then we must. Adults today won't be here for the worst, but kids will. Which is why this matter is so important to me. So I implore you all standing before me today, take action, defend our planet and kids' future. Climate change isn't coming, it's here. Thank you.
Look at all those kids out there making things happen. And guys, there's young adults on the other side. And the next clip I'm going to play is from Uncle Joey. And this is Uncle Joey's kid and a friend of theirs. And guys, I want you to see I'm not going to be derogatory to Uncle Joe's kid at all. He's got a right to think about anything he'd want. I mean, this is a free country. And, you know, if you want to think one way, that's fine. Knock yourself out. But I just want to show everybody the contradiction between the stuff that I put up and post and the stuff that people that are good friends with Uncle Joey puts up. So, Kurt, let's have number 13, I believe. Hit it.
And then Tommy Trudeau calls me a keyboard warrior, which I am.
I am a keyboard warrior. That's
what I do.
But I put up
charts. And what do these guys put up? This is what you get. So I put up valid charts like the hockey stick. And these clowns put up pictures of Trump. And see, this is how I put up charts. And they put up nonsense like this.
And guys, what that clip like with the black kid? You mad, bro? You mad? No, I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I'm a little disappointed. You know, I'm disappointed in the fact that you look at a chart and you ignore it because you think you have to defend the Republican Party. But if that's what you want, that's fine. Do it. But do it under the idea that, what are you going to tell your kids and your grandkids? When you think you're being cute now, what's going to happen years from now? Daddy, Grandpa, what did you do when it came to global warming? I denied it. No. You know, hopefully you're going to look your kids in the eye and say, hey, I did what I went down to Danbury, Connecticut, and I did a community access TV show to try to make things happen. Oh, and guys, I want to thank everybody for subscribing on YouTube. And if you haven't, if you subscribe, I appreciate it. And I tell you, I'm getting a lot of nice responses, and I appreciate it. And, you know, I mean, you could see I try hard, you know, and Kurt's with me, and he puts 100% in. And we give it our best shot. You know, we really do. And hopefully we can hit those people that can say, you know what? I understand where he's coming from. I get it. I'm not going to let the Republican Party bamboozle me anymore. And guys, this coming Wednesday, Channel 23 is having their Christmas party. So I get to sit down with my good buddy, Marty Heiser. And I tell you, Marty's been doing his show about as long as I have. And we're completely different ends of the spectrum, but we treat each other like gentlemen. Just like with Uncle Joey, we treat each other like gentlemen. Oh, we knock each other up and, you know, we curse at each other, but guys, we would never hurt each other. And why? Because it's conversation. Education, I hope. Maybe one day Uncle Joey will learn how to read a chart. Or he'll explain why he can't read one. But now we're going to go to the part of the show where we play the full clips, where the fun really begins. So we're going to go back to the beginning with Anderson Cooper and the ridiculous. So Kurt, number 20, please.
Time now for the ridiculous, and tonight it is less than 3 weeks before Christmas, and over the White House, not a creature is stirring, not even a mouse that's trying to obstruct Congress. But earlier today, there was quite a lot of stirring and talk of flushing, and it happened squat down in the middle of a small business roundtable when President Trump started promising to get to the bottom of something that, well, kind of stinks.
We have a situation where we're looking very strongly at sinks and showers and other elements of bathrooms where you turn the faucet on in areas where there's tremendous amounts of water, where the water rushes out to sea because you could never handle it, and you don't get any water. You turn on the faucet, you don't get any water. They take a shower and water comes dripping out.
How could you sit at the table with him and let him say
quietly dripping out? People are flushing toilets 10 times, 15 times as opposed to once. They end up
You
using more
expect
water.
anybody to
So
believe that?
EPA is looking at that very strongly, at my suggestion.
How could they be looking at it?
People are flushing
They're gonna
toilets
look at
10
your
to 15
admittance to the
times.
insane
Now,
asylum.
in the past, when the president talks about people, it's either one of two things. Number one, it's imaginary people, like the millions
Some
of people that
people
only he know about who
say.
voted for Hillary Clinton multiple times, illegally, even wearing different hats. Or number two, it's people as in people are talking about it, which he says a lot, which means really he's talking about it. This mess smells like a number one and a number two. It's big. I mean, I don't want to get into it, but it sounds like less of a water pressure issue, more of like a hazmat situation. President Trump is actually not the only one who's apparently having some porcelain problems. Senator Rand Paul is as well. In fact, maybe this is why the president and Rand Paul have become such allies. Here's Senator Paul back in 2011 addressing an Energy Department official from the Obama administration.
He had porcelain
Frankly,
problems?
my toilets don't work in my house.
Why
And I
not?
blame you and people like you
Change
who
your
want to tell me
diet.
what I can install in my house, what I can do.
Oh, stop,
You restrict
please.
my
Will you?
choices.
It restricts his choices. Now, with all due respect, Senator Paul, your choices, such as they are, I mean, they should be obvious, unless I'm missing something. It's sort of a binary. Later in that same hearing, Senator Paul scolded the energy official again, which precipitated arguably the best response probably in the history of Senate hearings.
I can't buy a toilet that works.
I can help you find a toilet that works.
Will somebody please help Rand Paul find a toilet that works? Good grief. Oh, and I can help you find a toilet that works.
Uncle Joey. Hey guys, Uncle Joey put my bathroom in when we moved up to Connecticut, and my toilet still works. So what, did we get lucky? I mean, I don't know. You guys see what I go through, right? All right. Now we're going to forge ahead to Chris Cuomo and the fun he had with all this nonsense. So, Kurt, number 21, please.
When you don't like the facts, and the proof comes from your own people, the only way to defeat the process is to fight the process itself. Enter Senator Lindsey Graham.
The purpose of the resolution is to let the House know that the process you're engaging in regarding the attempted impeachment of President Trump is out of bounds. It's inconsistent with due process as we know it.
Out of bounds?
It's a Star Chamber type inquiry, and it's a substantial deviation from what the House has done in the past regarding impeachment of other presidents.
First, Graham was active in the Clinton impeachment. He never criticized Starr then, nor the fact that that probe started with a real estate transaction and ended with a sex act. The ugly part is that Senator Supercilious has to know that his argument is BS. Why? He knows that with Nixon and Clinton, lawmakers weren't doing the investigating. It was an independent counsel or a special prosecutor who both used closed-door depositions. And in Clinton, Graham was then party to a second layer of secrecy. Lead prosecutor Henry Hyde said Tuesday that 2 days of closed depositions have strengthened the case against President Clinton. And he said the opposite then of what he says now.
Said the opposite.
The depositions, I think, will determine whether or not we
You
go
got
forward
it
with
ass
hearings. I think it's a
backwards?
very smart thing to do is to depose these people and find out what they've got to say and not drag this thing out unnecessarily.
Same thing the Democrats say now. Now Graham says it's a lynching. Then it was a very smart thing. But then he sprinkles a little fact with his farce today. Listen.
A little fact with
I'm
his
not here
farce.
to tell you that Donald Trump's done nothing wrong.
Really? So that's reverse speak for you know he did do something wrong. And you think you can sell that now because the bar is very major crime to impeach. That's Graham now. But back then,
You don't even have to be convicted of a crime to lose your job in this constitutional republic if this body determines that your conduct as a public official is clearly out of bounds in your role.
Senator Graham is right to point out Trump's potential impeachment as being different from the others, but not in a way that defends his newfound deference for wrongdoing. Here's the difference. President Nixon said this.
Our entire focus should be on the great issues of peace abroad and prosperity without inflation at home. Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
In the face of wrongdoing, he resigned. When it was Clinton's turn, he apologized a lot.
I am profoundly sorry for all I have done wrong in words and deeds. Mere words cannot fully express the profound remorse I feel for what our country is going through and for what members of both parties in Congress are now forced to deal with.
Why does it matter? Contrition is what you just saw. That's a key indicator of potential change and a draw for potential leniency. Trump is a toxic opposite.
A toxic opposite. Right or wrong? And will he resign or apologize? Probably neither. Why? Because facts are a force with him. He doesn't know what facts are. It's really that simple. And nobody can really explain it to him because he doesn't understand. And worse, he doesn't want to understand. And you'll see what I mean with part 2 of Chris Cuomo. So Kurt, number 22, please.
Trump is a toxic opposite to presidents past.
Toxic opposite.
That call was a great call. It was a perfect call.
Perfect.
An absolutely perfect phone
Perfect.
conversation with the president of Ukraine.
Unbelievable.
No remorse. Then he went on TV, asked China to investigate the Bidens as well. The same guy who asked the Russians, WikiLeaks, and Ukraine to help him out. The same guy who told you he's never even needed to ask God for forgiveness. And somehow, Graham, who once argued the test was presidential conduct being out of bounds, now said it is not Trump, but Congress who's out of bounds. Graham is at war with his own words. And why? The reason is as ugly as it is obvious. Graham and all the others on the right who know their past proclamations of principle are now anathema to what they're doing. They're mobbish attacks of a process they once embraced. You're not acting like lawmakers, but as defense counsel for a potential lawbreaker. Graham can't be New Coke and Classic Coke at the same time. This hypocrisy would be hysterical if the situation weren't so heavy. Here's the proposition. If you don't want to assess what is obvious and ensure that the presidency is not a constant source of patronage and positioning for personal advantage, honoring your constitutional duty, then resign and join the president's legal team. Because you know this process is no less fair than impeachments past. What has changed is you, sir.
Boom. What has changed is you, sir. But guys, like we pointed out earlier, other people in the Republican Party have changed as well. So we're going to show you how Newt Gingrich has done a complete 180, all in the name of Trump. Hit it, Kurt.
They now have unveiled a new objection as to why President Trump cannot actually be subject to this impeachment proceeding. A new noble stand they are taking for fairness and the American way. They have rolled it out with our friends at the Fox News Channel.
The whole thing is a joke. It is, frankly, very, very close to what Clarence Thomas once described as a modern-day lynch mob.
Fox does this.
The Democrats have no interest in the facts. And really, on the eve of Christmas, it is really sad to see the dishonesty and the partisanship that the House Democrats are displaying.
On the eve of Christmas?
How dare you?
It is Christmas time, you guys.
Unbelievable.
Just no time for an impeachment.
Yeah.
I mean, any other time of the year, this might be okay.
That's
but
right.
Not,
any other
what
time.
Is it? It's 19 days before Christmas?
Yeah.
This is the new objection. If there's one rule that all Americans should be able to agree on, or Republicans at least have the decency to adhere to, it's the rule that you don't pursue impeachment proceedings against an American president in the holiday season.
That's
not
right.
while the Yule log burns
Christmas
in the hearth.
Season.
Not while the sleigh bells ring. Not while people are, decorating their Christmas trees. It's just against the rules.
Tom, the contrast could not have been more striking tonight. At the very moment the Republicans were releasing their 4 articles of impeachment, the President and First Lady were lighting the national Christmas tree, festive, seemingly unconcerned.
In 1998, House Republicans released the 4 articles of impeachment they had been working on against President Clinton. They released those 4 articles of impeachment literally while President Clinton was in the act of lighting the national Christmas tree. Those impeachment proceedings against President Clinton were set in motion, of course, by the crusading Republican Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, who now is back here to let us know that Republicans at least have some sense of decency.
Yeah.
They have some sense of the rules around what makes for a fair impeachment process and what doesn't. And frankly, Christmas time is part of what you have to consider.
And really, on the eve of Christmas, it is really sad to see the dishonesty and the partisanship that the House Democrats are displaying.
Those House Democrats, I tell you, they have no mercy, no Christmas spirit. But guys, we've got plenty of Christmas spirit, and we'll have more fun with part 2. Kurt, 24, please.
And really, on the eve of Christmas, it is really sad to see the dishonesty and the partisanship that the House Democrats are displaying.
When the Republicans in 1998 released the draft articles of impeachment against President Clinton while he was lighting the national Christmas tree, it was 4 articles of impeachment that they released. When it came time to vote on those 4 articles of impeachment against President Clinton, 2 of them were voted down. 2 of them failed. But 2 of them went ahead on very close votes. There was an article on perjury where the vote was 228 to 206. There was also an article on obstruction that passed. That one was even closer, though. That one was 221 to 212. So 2 of the 4 passed. And under the Newt Gingrich, you can't impeach a president at Christmas time rule, just proclaimed on the Fox News channel this week, you should know that when it came time for the House to actually cast their votes on those impeachment articles, when it came time not just to introduce the articles, but for the House to vote on them, those votes took place on December 19th, Christmas week. I mean, they could have waited until after the Christmas holiday, but why would you do that? They apparently really wanted to do it right before Christmas, so much so that the House actually was called in on a Saturday to take those votes. It was strange enough timing that the NBC News archive footage of the network coverage of that historic impeachment vote against President Clinton is actually filed under golf, because it starts with an NBC anchor named Hannah Storm having to break in suddenly to the network's coverage of a Saturday afternoon golf match in order to announce that President Clinton was being impeached on the 19th of December.
Quite an athlete in his day. Hot.
Hello, everyone. Hannah Storm in New York. We will be returning to our coverage of the Lexus Challenge after a report from NBC News. An historic day for our country. And for the latest on the impeachment of President Clinton, we go to Tom Brokaw. Tom?
Thank you very much, Hannah. The president has been impeached on 2 articles in the House of Representatives.
It was December 19th, the Saturday before Christmas, 1998. That is timing that the Republican Party now apparently believes was just unconscionable.
So it's unconscionable, except if you're a Republican. Then it's conscionable, right? How much? Joey, how much can you take, kid? How long you gonna stay with these boneheads? I mean, I could understand Kenny Johnson staying with him for the rest of his life. But I mean, I know you got half a brain. At least I thought you did. But anyway, The next clip we're going to show you with Ari Melba. And once again, going back to giving Lindsey Graham the business. So, Kurt, 25, please.
Republican Senator Lindsey Graham does a lot of interviews, and that means he has to confront his own lengthy interview record.
If Jeff Sessions is fired, there will be holy hell to pay. Any effort to go after Mueller could be the beginning of the end of the Trump presidency.
Holy hell, the beginning of the end? But look at Lindsey Graham just last night on Fox News when confronted with that very clip.
Given where we are now, what do you say now?
So when was that? What year?
July of 2017. Things have changed.
I think Mr. Whitaker was a good pick. I think he's going to be as fair as impartial as Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch were. The bottom line is this is hysteria more than it is anything else.
Graham trying to laugh that off, but it's not funny to most people. And in terms of Graham's views on Trump, let's be clear. He has abandoned his own publicly stated, repeated convictions in exchange for what looks like now a certain proximity to being with Trump.
I think he's a kook. I think he's crazy. I think he's unfit for office. Endless attempt to label the guy as some kind of kook, not fit to be president. I don't believe he's a Republican. His policies are really bad for the country. Number one, I agree with him mostly. He's a jackass. I like the president. I want to help him. Trump's foreign policy is a complete disaster. What President Trump has done is historic. He deserves the Nobel Peace Prize and then some.
Unbelievable, isn't it, guys?
And then some. I want to be clear. There are many Americans who generally support Donald Trump, and there are plenty of reasons for them to feel that way and for all of us to try to debate politics civilly. But what we're seeing here is important because as Senator Lindsey Graham descends deeper into pure self-caricature of craven political hypocrisy, he has come to personify the hollowing out of a significant portion of the leadership of the Republican Party.
He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. No, I don't think he's a xenophobic, race-baiting, religious bigot as president.
What do you say? How many times have we seen that clip today? The exact same thing verbatim. Years later, and it's completely opposite. Why? Because you got to stick with the tribe. Lindsey's a tribe member. And you know, guys, what I really want to know, what does Trump have on Graham? What made him flip-flop? What made him change course so dramatically? What does Trump have on Lindsey? What does Trump know that we don't know? What was that, Kurt?
I said, Miss Lindsey.
Hey, I mean, it's not right to point fingers, but at least Buttigieg had the Gallarducci's or the Giulianis to admit that he's involved, that he's married to another guy or to, I don't know how that works. But anyway, guys, we're going to continue to have fun with, we're going to show you why. Now, this is Ted Cruz now. What made Ted Cruz do a complete about-face? Kurt, let's see if we could find out with number 26, please.
Do you believe that what the president did with Ukraine somehow was tough on Russia? Or didn't the president, by just introducing all of this delayed aid, play into the hands of Russia?
You know, Chuck, substance matters. By any measure, the president's policy and this administration's policy have been tougher on Russia and actually better for Ukraine than Obama's was. Let me give you an example. You just mentioned Ukrainian aid. The Donald Trump administration gave lethal defensive aid to Ukraine, Javelin missiles to take out Russian tanks. Do you know what? Throughout the Obama administration, I repeatedly pressed President Obama to give lethal aid to Ukraine. I traveled to Ukraine. I went to the Maidan Square in Kiev, and they needed lethal aid, but the Obama administration, they sent teddy bears and MREs. They wouldn't actually give weapons. And at the end of the day, Chairman Nadler doesn't want to talk about any of that. He doesn't want to talk about the substance. You know, it was really striking listening to his comments. At one point he said, well, there's no crime. And you know, he's right. There is no crime.
No, he was talking about he was talking about the president's lawyer, not about the president.
Yeah,
but go ahead.
He tried to do a little switcheroo there.
Yesterday, that, oh, you're right. He said, at first he said it was contempt, and then said, oh, well, not really contempt. There's no crime. But let's be clear about the president, since this is impeachment of the president. Yesterday, House Democrats put out a 55-page report. They called it a scholarly report that purports to say you don't have to prove a crime. You don't have to prove a law was violated to impeach a president.
That's
garbage. What nonsense.
Well, wait a minute. That's exactly, Senator.
Hold on. Let me finish my point.
That's exactly why the impeachment it was written into the Constitution. That's exactly why the phrase high crimes and misdemeanors is in there, because they did it before they even wrote our laws, sir. Before we had our... So how do you know...
What the Constitution...
How do you... I mean, you're saying that it is not... That's exactly the opposite of what is true.
Exactly the opposite of what is true. And guys, Cruz is a bright guy. Why would you want to try to do this and get over on everybody and think that you can? Yeah, no. See, the nonsense is starting to stop. And people are starting to call a lot of the Republicans out. And you saw it right then and there. But we're not going to stop right then and there. Kurt, let's have the next clip. More fun.
How do you... I mean, you're saying that it is not... That's exactly the opposite of what is true.
It's exactly the opposite.
Chuck, actually, what the Constitution says is you can impeach a president for treason, bribery, or high crimes and misdemeanors. Okay. It specifies it.
That's
high crimes and misdemeanors.
And go ahead.
Hold on, Chuck, don't interrupt me.
And what is a misdemeanor? What is a defined misdemeanor?
So high crimes or misdemeanors was a term of art that the framers used. And you know, it's striking. In poker, there's something called a tell. When a player has a really bad hand and they reveal it, it's a tell. What we saw last night was a tell from the House Democrats. You know, just a few weeks ago, their talking point was bribery, bribery, bribery. They're now admitting they can't prove a crime, they can't prove a law was violated, and here's why. Any president, any administration is justified in investing corruption. And there was serious evidence of real corruption concerning Hunter Biden on the board of Burisma, the largest natural gas company in Ukraine. You know how much Hunter Biden was paid every month? $83,000.
You know, that number keeps changing. So far, there hasn't been a lot of confirmation on exactly all of that. And I know the number changes. But let me ask you this.
The House won't
let me ask you this, Senator.
But hold on, Chuck. Chuck, hold on a second.
All right.
The media ought to care if there's actual corruption.
And the media has covered
$1 million a year. Do you know how much you get for serving on the board of ExxonMobil? You get $110,000 a year. Do you really think Hunter Biden with zero
The reason you know this information is the media reported it.
Making 10 times as much as a board member of ExxonMobil?
What I don't understand is why do you believe that if an American is committing corruption, we should ask a foreign government to announce an investigation? Is that appropriate, or do you go to American authorities?
So I believe any president, any Justice Department has the authority to investigate corruption. In this case, there was serious evidence on the face of corruption. The reason Hunter Biden got that position is because his daddy was vice president of the United States.
So you believe Ukraine...
Hunter Smith,
do you believe
they
Ukraine
wouldn't pay him $1 million a year to serve on the board.
Do you believe Ukraine meddled in the American election in 2016?
I do, and I think there's considerable evidence.
You do? You do?
Yes, and Chuck, let me say.
This is, you know, Senator, this sort of strikes me as odd, because you went through a primary campaign with this president. He launched a birtherism campaign against you. He went after your faith. He threatened to, quote, spill the beans about your wife about something. He pushed a National Enquirer story, which we now know he had a real relationship with the editor of the National Enquirer.
Up all that garbage. That's very kind.
Let me ask you this. Is it not possible that this president is capable of creating a false narrative about somebody in order to help him politically?
And he laughs.
Except that's not what happened. The president released the transcript of the phone call. You can read what was said on the phone call.
Yeah, and the Biden.
Let me point out again.
You yourself thought the Biden part was troubling.
Chuck, let me point out a game that the media is playing. You know, a question that you've asked a number of people is you've said to senators sort of aghast, do you believe that Ukraine and not Russia interfered in the election? Now that in a court of law would be struck as a misleading question. Of course Russia interfered in our election. Nobody looking at the evidence disputes that.
The
But what
President of the United States does.
Look, on the evidence, Russia clearly interfered in our election. But here's the game the media is playing. Because Russia interfered, the media pretends nobody else did.
See what he's trying to do here, guys? He's trying to do the old-fashioned trick, create doubt. Oh, if we create a little bit of doubt, that's all Kenny Johnson needs to hear, and he'll be rambling on about that tonight. But I love the way they come up with the idea. You know, when he asked him, he said, don't you think Trump could come up with a false narrative? And Cruz laughs. Ha! Hey, he did it to you in black and white on the front page of the National Enquirer, and you don't have the Giulianis to stand up to him and tell him to go scratch his ass? What does that have to say about you and the rest of the Republican Party? What's wrong with you guys? Or should I say, what's right with you guys? And then you take advantage of people like Uncle Joey all the time, and it's just not fair, you know? But anyway, what is fair is having fun. So, Kurt, I think we got one more. Do we have one more Ted Cruz clip, number 28, or did we play that?
Here's the game the media is playing. Because Russia interfered, the media pretends nobody else did. Ukraine blatantly interfered in our election. The sitting ambassador from Ukraine wrote an op-ed blasting Donald Trump during the election season.
Do you know why he did that?
That is unusual.
What did Donald Trump as a candidate say about Ukraine and Crimea during the election that might have inspired the ambassador?
So you're saying they had disagreements with Donald Trump and they wanted Hillary Clinton to get elected.
Okay, so they wrote an op-ed.
A Ukrainian parliamentarian.
That is the difference. What you're saying is you're saying a pickpocket, which essentially is a Hill op-ed, compared to Bernie Madoff and Vladimir Putin. You're trying to make them both seem equal. I don't understand that.
Chuck, I understand that you want to dismiss Ukrainian interference because A, they were trying to get Hillary Clinton elected, which is what the vast majority of the media wanted anyway, and B, it's inconvenient for the narrative. You know, it's hysterical. 2 years ago, there was article after article after article in the mainstream media about Ukrainian interference in the elections. But now, the Democrats have no evidence of a crime, no evidence of violating the law, and so suddenly Ukrainian interference is treated as the media clutches their pearls. Oh, my goodness, you can't say that. Last week, Chuck, you called Senator John Kennedy basically a stooge for Putin.
I did not.
Don't basically being ridiculous Senator, and acting like they work for Adam Schiff.
Okay, so did you get the briefing from the intel community that said the Russian intelligence services are trying to actively use this Ukraine story to frame Ukraine for the interference in 2016?
I have been in multiple briefings. I have been in multiple briefings year after year after year about foreign interference in our election. Russia's tried to interfere in our elections. China's tried to interfere in our elections. North Korea's tried to interfere in our elections. Ukraine has tried to interfere in our elections. This is not new. 2016 is not the first year they did it, and they're going to keep trying. And so we need to be strong in dealing with it. Okay. But the media needs to actually report facts. This is a kangaroo court in the House. They're going to impeach, not because they have the evidence, but because they hate the president, want to do the election. But it's going to go to the Senate. It's going to go nowhere. And I think the American people know this is a waste of time, and this is Democrats putting on a circus.
Senator Ted Cruz, Republican from Texas, always good to go back and forth with you.
Guys, it's not that people hate Trump. They hate a liar. And that's the problem. And, you know, why people put up with it is beyond me. But there's some people you can't get over on, and those are kids. And I tell you, once you got the young kids going after something, guys, I remember when my daughter must have been, I don't know, 3 or 4 years old. She wanted a yellow lunchbox. And guys, I want to tell you, all day long, Daddy, Daddy, she was finally, come on, honey, getting it. Well, no, it wasn't a come on, honey, but went down, she was impetuous, went down to Rite Aid, bought her a yellow lunchbox. She used it the next day, and that was the end of that. But kids will change the world. And when you see that they have science and Mother Nature behind them, we can't lose. So, Kurt, I think it's 29. There you go.
Need to take action now. We are powerful. We are awesome. And we can change the world. Together.
Small but mighty, kids change the world.
Wonder why you haven't now stand in the place where you were.
What do we want? Climate action. What do we want it? Now. What do we want? Climate action. What do we want it? Now.
I'm also one of the core organizers of the Boston Climate Strike.
Guys, you gonna argue with those kids?
December 6th.
No way.
I just want to invite everyone to join us in Copley Square.
Being a kid, I shouldn't have to stand up here defending my future, but I am. And believe it or not, the very people who are responsible for keeping me safe are the main cause of the problem. Adults need to take action now. Congress is ignoring the rising threat of climate change. Adults aren't telling Congress to fix this, and meanwhile, fossil fuel companies are making fortunes. If adults won't speak up for our future, then we must. Adults today won't be here for the words, but kids will. Which is why this matter is so important to me. So I implore you all standing before me today, take action, defend our planet and kids' future. Climate change isn't coming, it's here. Thank you.
Wow, okay. So guys, I want to thank Kurt. You did a great job. I want to thank Candy, Dave. I want to thank everybody that's contributed with their ideas on Facebook. And guys, you know, keep up with us on Facebook. Rich Frasconi on Facebook. If you have any ideas, if there's things you'd like to see, hey, we're open to suggestions. You know, but the one thing that we want to try to get across to everybody, there's no planet B. There ain't. So let's get with the kids. You know, let's make this a learning experience, and let's try to make things happen. So, Kurt, we'll see you next week, everybody, and hopefully we won't have a president anymore. Good night.